Hi everyone. Paczki donuts are famous Polish donuts and they are made on Poonch-key Day, which is observed in Poland on the last Thursday just before the Ash Wednesday. Since day after tomorrow there is Ash Wednesday, I thought of making these Paczki donuts just right in time. So here we have some flour, some yeast in milk. This milk is at 110 Fahrenheit and I have added yeast and 1 tablespoon sugar in it. So let's get started. First we will add yeast, milk solution in the flour, the sugar, milk powder and some melted butter. You can add all of them together or you can just add the milk, the yeast and add the butter later on while kneading the dough. I although like to add them all at once. Stir them together to form a dough kind of consistency. So here we can see that we would need some more milk in this dough and I'm going to warm 1/3 cup of milk again to add in this dough, which would give me the right consistency for the donut. So slowly add some milk together and mix it together with a spoon or a spatula. At this stage you would see that the dough is very sticky and very moist, but when you will give it a rest time, it will come together as a smooth and soft dough. So any product which uses yeast needs a rest time of at least half an hour in a warm place. I will keep it in my warm place for approximately 1 hour and then we will see how much it has been risen. I think this much milk is enough for this dough because the consistency looks good. You get a moist dough with this. I have also taken some confectioners or powdered sugar for dusting, which we will use in the last step. And this is the famous Nutella, which I will use for filling. And you may use some applesauce for filling, or you may use some custard, or you may use some cream for filling. And these I will use for garnishing the sprinkles. And this is my paper piping bags, which I can use for decorating them. In the end, for 1 hour and 10 minutes, our dough has risen just double in volume, as you can see. And now we will knead this dough with some flour dusted on our counter or on our board to get the smoothness we want. You can see this is very soft and you can see the strands already. These are the gluten strands which are formed because of the reaction of the yeast and sugar. I think it will need a good amount of dry flour to get the shape we need. I told you in the beginning of the video we might need anything from 2.5 cup flour to 3 flour. So here in the beginning we have taken 2 cups and 1/4 flour and we ended up using almost 3 cup flour for kneading the dough because we needed some dry flour for dusting and for making the dough as smooth and soft as we need it. Still, if you find the dough sticky, and that means it needs little bit more kneading with little more dry flour, but keep on sprinkling in very little amount so that it gets combined together to form a soft and smooth dough. It should not be a tight dough though. So we cannot add all the flour in the first stage, and we reserved some of it to be added later on. Now after a few punches you will see the dough will no longer stick to your hand and it will be in a right form to get it rolled. This is the type of dough we are looking for. When you punch your finger, it should spring back very slowly. Now you may take a board for rolling this dough, or you may use the clean counter, whatever is easily accessible to you. This is my cookie cutter which I can use for cutting out my donut shape. In case of absence of this cutter, you may use a steel glass or a glass, and for the whole part you can use the small caps of any bottle which would fit. So since I'm making these polished donuts, I would not need these small caps, but I thought of making a mixed type of donuts like the usual regular donuts and the polished donuts, so I kept these two. Now we will use a rolling pin and we will roll this dough to approximately ½ inch thickness and make sure it's even on all sides. So we will cut out the donuts. I'll show you both with the glass and the cookie cutter. You can dip this in some dry flour and then use it for cutting. Similarly, for larger donuts we can use this cookie cutter. We'll separate the cut donuts and the balls of donuts. And we'll separate the Paczki donuts also. Those are the polished donuts without any holes. As you can see, they have already started puffing up, but we will give them a 20 to 30 minute rest time again so that they can rise again in a tray. And since we are not going to bake them, we are just going to deep fry them, so we don't need to preheat our oven. For keeping our donuts in the tray, I am applying some water in the base so that my parchment paper sticks to the base and sets in place. Now in this tray I'll keep my donuts. You can join the balls again in the dough so that we can again roll them into more donuts, and later on the left out balls could be used for frying also as donut balls. You can use any towel, just wet it, spray some water on it so that your donuts don't dry in the meantime. Or you can just cover them with a cling wrap. Whatever is convenient for you, you can do. And then keep them again in a warm place. I usually keep it in my oven and just turn on my oven lights. See, in the meanwhile, our donuts have puffed up and they have doubled in size and they look beautiful. At a time we will fry only 3 to 4 donuts, otherwise the temperature of the oil would cool down and you will not get the right cooked donuts. So our oil is ready now. Since my wok is small, I'll fry just 2 at a time. See the change in color on the other side? Turn them over and let them fry on both sides. Make sure your oil is not too hot and not too cold. This one is done from both sides. Our first poonch-key is ready, but not yet, because poonch-key are the donuts which are filled inside. So for the filling I have used some strawberry jam and some apple sauce, and I have also prepared a chocolate glaze. You can also use a chia squeeze or any healthy squeeze or filling for your donuts. You can also use chocolate syrup, or as I have shown earlier, a Nutella for the filling. This poonch-key has swelled up a lot, and this is just a lovely sight. Once you reach the right temperature of the oil, you get perfectly puffed up donuts. Their aroma is already filling my house and they look so tempting. If you sense that the temperature has risen too much, you can lower the temperature. It takes approximately 5 minutes to fry the donuts on both sides. So I'm going to fill up this donut, a whole donut, with this chocolate syrup. You can fill up this with any syrup like a custard or a strawberry syrup or a jelly. And now it's the turn of the poonch-key donuts, the one we are waiting for. So just poke a hole either with a syringe or with any back of your rolling pin or any back of the spatula, and jelly inside it like this way. So it swells up with the jelly and this turns out to be a perfect poonch-key, I think so. Let's do the other one with some applesauce. Oh, it's oozing out from the top, so this one is overloaded. You may also use these cookie icing if you have it handy for filling or for the garnishing purpose. But I prefer to use my strawberry jam, my applesauce, and some of my chia squeeze for the filling. And I have also used the chocolate syrup for filling with the syringe, the food syringe, in these whole donuts. Now I'm going to dip them generously in my chocolate glaze. And rest them